Good afternoon. Again, Chairman Creighton and members of the committee. My name is Mary Elizabeth Castle. I'm the Director of Government Relations for Texas Values and Texas Values Action. I've been leading the education efforts at Texas Values for the past 6 years. Our organization has experience in the courts and legislature and representing Texans' First Amendment rights. We also work on a number of education and curriculum issues at the local level and at individual levels as well, the Texas State Board of Education, and here at the Texas Legislature. Texas Values helped with legislation in both chambers to address inappropriate library books. This has been an issue that has spanned a number of years. We are thankful for the opportunity we have had to work closely with Chairman Creighton and Senator Paxton to ensure that we can once and for all get sexually explicit library books out of school libraries. Representing my experience and work at Texas Values, I testify in support of legislation that will be key in stopping explicit and obscene books from entering school libraries. Unfortunately, parents are still facing obstacles when it comes to an implementation of a policy to stop the inappropriate books in public school libraries across the state of Texas. Part of the confusion and setback comes from the complicated legal history of the law that was passed last session, HB 900. As expected, a group of bookstores, authors, and book associations filed a federal lawsuit claiming that HB 900 violated their First and 14th Amendment rights. The federal court granted a preliminary injunction on the law that was affirmed by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in January 2024. A request to hear this case en banc was filed in April 2024, but that request fell 9-8, leaving portions of HB 900 unenforceable. The parts that remain enforceable involve the collection development standards that were voted on by the State Board of Education and adopted by the Texas Library and Archives Commission. One of the key issues that caused legal challenges with the law passed last session was the creation of new terms that were considered vague and difficult to enforce. Clear, concise, tested definitions make good legislation that will help avoid legal challenges. I agree with the FCC definition because it was upheld by the United States Supreme Court in the case FCC versus Pacifica Foundation. Indecent material is defined as depicts or describes sexual or excretory organs or activities in terms that are patently offensive as measured by contemporary community standards for the broadcast medium. Instead, the law that was passed in 2023 created two new legal terms that were not legally tested by the courts, and in addition to the legal problems with created such definitions, parents and school administrators alike had difficulty deciphering between the two definitions of what is sexually relevant or sexually explicit. Senator Paxton's bill SB 13 fully addresses this issue directly by using the terms that are already defined in state law and terms that have legal precedent. For example, the harmful material definition that's also in this law comes from the Texas Penal Code, Section 4324, and as I previously stated, the indecent content definition was upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court in the FCC versus Pacifica Foundation case. This bill also addresses the issue of having a clear and localized process for removing books. Another hurdle that our organization has helped parents with is overcoming the confusion of grievances and processes for removing books. The grievance process specifically set out in law is tedious, and parents have to complain about one book at a time. For example, in Round Rock ISD, the parent, principal, and librarian must all read the book at issue in its entirety. Afterwards, there is a meeting with the parent, the principal, and the librarian to discuss the book. This creates several problems. The librarian will most likely be biased in this situation, maybe not all times, but some. And then most parents who already know of the relevant and appropriate sections of the book do not have the time or even the desire to read all of the inappropriate library books in question. One parent calculated that if the maximum days of response time the grievance process were met, then the entire process would take 80 days to complete. For note, Texas kids are in school for approximately 180 days. The bill addresses this issue by ensuring that there is a set committee and process for reviewing, selecting, and removing books. Ultimately, we want to see a solid law that will finally address the issue of inappropriate library books. Thank you so much for this legislation.